No matter how complete a film might feel when you're watching it, the movie we see is almost always the result of an intense editorial process where it's whittled down from a much larger and longer whole. That is to say, the majority of films end up leaving at least a few scenes on the cutting room floor for one reason or another, only for audiences to sometimes cry foul when these scenes later come to light. So with that in mind, I'm Ellie for What Culture, and here are 10 insane moments cut from recent movies. Want to stay safe online and save big? Get up to 76% off a 2-year NordVPN plan, plus 4 months free and up to a $50 Amazon gift card. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description and it's all yours. Number 10, Mr. Miyagi's cameo, Karate Kid Legends. One of the chief complaints about Karate Kid Legends is that the film felt too rushed and brief for its own good, clocking in at just 94 minutes and ultimately failing to make the most of its cast. And soon after the Legacy sequel's release, actor Shiro Nobunaga revealed on Instagram that he actually shot 2 flashback scenes as Mr. Miyagi, standing in for the late Pat Morita, which were cut with behind-the-scenes images showing him sharing the screen with Jackie Chan's Mr. Han. Fans were understandably baffled that these scenes were left on the cutting room floor, considering not only Legend's brief runtime, but also how forced the connection between Mr. Han and Mr. Miyagi feels in the final cut. These scenes could have easily smoothed out that issue, and while it's possible they simply didn't play out as well as intended, if nothing else, Nobunaga looks like an absolute dead ringer for Pat Morita. And it's certainly preferable to the uncanny AI deepfake of Mr. Miyagi we saw in Cobra Kai's final season. Yet all this effort was ultimately for naught. Number 9, Ultraman punches Krypto, Superman. Though James Gunn's Superman appears to be precisely the sort of auteur-driven superhero movie fans claim they want to see more of, Gunn did take heed of a test screening which illustrated an issue with one bold scene. In a recent interview with the film's ensemble cast, Sarah Sampaio revealed that a scene was cut in which supporting villain Ultraman punches Superman's superpowered dog, Krypto. Sampaio added that the scene, quote, did really bad in the test screening, though both she and Nicholas Hoult were, quote, a little bit pissed about it being cut. All the same, considering how queasy audiences are about imperiled dogs, even superpowered ones, it probably isn't worth risking the movie's word of mouth with a scene which shows Superman's beloved pooch getting attacked. Still, it would be a neat compromise if James Gunn included the scene on the film's home video release, so audiences can judge for themselves if it went too far or not. Number 8, Nicolas Cage sings Jump Around, The Surfer. The Surfer was one hell of a showcase for Nicolas Cage's willingness to give himself entirely over to a film role, but it honestly sounds like one of his wildest moments on set was maddeningly left out. Director Lorcan Finnegan recently revealed that though Cage was extremely prepared when he got to set and largely stuck to the script, he did venture into some occasional unhinged ad-libbing. Case in point, during a scene where Cage's embattled protagonist mentally spirals while dehydrated in the relentless Australian sun, he began singing House of Pain's Jump Around and started jumping around in a delirium, as you do. Finnegan ultimately didn't include this scene in the final cut for whatever reason, though assured Cage's fans that it will see the light of day in the film's upcoming Blu-ray release. After all, the prospect of something so gloriously over the top never making it out into the world is just unconscionable. Number 7, Calypso slaughters a construction worker, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam! Fury of the Gods filmmaker David F. Sandberg runs a popular YouTube channel where he regularly details his filmmaking process and offers fantastic tips for budding amateur directors. In a recent video, he detailed the strained production of the Shazam sequel, revealing among other things that a gnarly death scene was cut from the film after test audiences reacted with abject disgust. At the climax of an action scene, a frustrated Calypso comes across a construction worker who is eating a sandwich in a porta-potty, after which she stabs him with the blunt end of her staff. Now, this being a PG-13 movie, Sandberg cuts away from the impact shot, but instead shows Calypso's staff emerging out the other side of the porta-potty, where blood can be seen dripping down the weapon. Sandberg said that test audiences reacted with a sound of disgust that, quote, wasn't a good sound of disgust, prompting the horror filmmaker to realise that he'd gone too far and remove the scene. Number 6, Slim's split diopter performance, Sinners. Sinners is debatably the best film of the year so far, and yet Ryan Coogler's outstanding vampire flick left an incredible scene on the cutting room floor involving Delroy Lindo's Delta Slim. The sequence is a musical performance at the Smokestack Twins juke joint where Delta Slim sings and plays the piano. Intriguingly, the 4.5-minute scene unfolds over a single unbroken take, with a split diopter being used to keep Delta Slim in focus in close-up while also keeping numerous revelers in close-up in the background. It's a brilliant, soulful scene that clearly involved a lot of prep and effort to pull off, but it's also easy to see why Coogler cut it. Great as it is, it also threatens to bring the film's pacing grinding to a halt, probably unaided by the scene being a single locked-off shot lasting almost 5 minutes. But at least it's out in the world now for fans to savour, because it would have been criminal if this sublime sequence never found its way to audiences. Number 5. Bok and Fiyero get shirtless, Wicked. Shortly after the release of Wicked, star Bowen Yang revealed that an absolutely outrageous scene was cut in which the characters of Bok and Fiyero rip their shirts off as part of a montage showing off the friendships of the central characters. Yang ultimately put it best himself, saying, quote, "You were supposed to see Jonathan Bailey in his full shirtless glory, like flexing." Yang also added that the gag would have seen Bok surprise the audience with Ethan Slater's, quote, "great body," but alas, it was all cut. According to Yang, the scene was deleted because the film's runtime was already 160 minutes without it. But director John M. Chu revealed that it was actually cut for tonal reasons, because it didn't fit the vibe of the movie at that point. Though Chu initially teased fans that the scene would show up on Wicked's home video release, that sadly didn't happen, leaving tens of millions of Wicked fans surely heartbroken. Number 4. Carnage at Chuck E. Cheese, Final Destination Bloodlines. One of the most memorable sequences from Final Destination Bloodlines is the nerve-shredding barbecue set piece, which culminates in the death of protagonist Stephanie's uncle Howard, whose head is run over by his own lawnmower. However, directors Zach Lipovsky and Adam Stein recently revealed that the original version of this scene wasn't a family barbecue at all, but rather a family gathering at a restaurant modelled on famed American dining chain Chuck E. Cheese. Lipovsky said that the sequence would have had plenty of fun introducing dangerous red herrings like arcade machines, bowling balls and bumper cars, but ultimately the decision was made to shift the location to a garden barbecue because they found it a more relatable concept for a story that's all about one single family. As fantastic as the final version of the scene is, it goes without saying that the darkly comedic possibilities of a carnage-filled restaurant scene, presumably leaving scores of other diners thoroughly traumatized, speaks for itself. Number 3. Post-credits scene, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. It's slightly refreshing that Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning ended without any mid-credits or post-credits teasers for future adventures, seemingly hammering home the fact that this might well be the last of Ethan Hunt's big-screen adventures. But that wasn't the original plan. Director Christopher McQuarrie revealed shortly after the film's release that he originally planned to shoot a post-credits scene he referred to as a coda. However, after showing Tom Cruise the final 10 minutes of the main movie pre-credits, the actor told him, quote, "You know what? You can cancel Saturday's work because this is the end of the movie. This is it." And so the pair decided to scrap the planned post-credits scene. Now, when asked about the precise content of this scene, McQuarrie refused to give it away, reasoning that it, quote, "could end up in another movie." All in all, this is probably for the best. Though considering the ludicrously prolonged production of The Final Reckoning, it's honestly shocking to hear about something they didn't elect to shoot. Number 2. Welshpool drops a C-bomb, Deadpool and Wolverine. One of the more amusingly ridiculous cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine is that of Wrexham AFC player Paul Mullin, who appears as the Welsh variant of Deadpool known as Welshpool. Now, while Welshpool only appears fleetingly in the final cut of the movie, on the eve of the movie's Disney Plus release, Ryan Reynolds posted a deleted scene from the movie where the Deadpool Corps hurls verbal abuse at the Merc with a mouth. After Deadpool sings the praises of Peter and tries to get the other Deadpools on side, they start loudly shouting expletive-filled insults at him, culminating in Welshpool sticking 2 fingers in his face and shouting, "F off, C-word," with a distinct North Wales lilt. Now, it isn't clear why this exchange was cut, but considering that there are a few other variations of the C-word featured in the final cut of the movie, it was more likely for pacing than content reasons. Either way, thank the Lord that something so deranged has been released to the masses rather than being left to rot on a Disney server forevermore. Number 1. Dante faked his death. Another Simple Favor. Another Simple Favor is such a ramshackle sequel that it's not remotely surprising that vast swaths of the story almost went in another direction, as director Paul Feig himself confirmed shortly after the film's release. In the final version of the film, Emily's new husband Dante is shot and killed, with the culprit eventually revealed to be Emily's unhinged triplet, Charity. But Feig revealed that Dante was originally written to be, quote, more of a bad guy, that he actually ended up faking his own death and framing Emily for it, forcing Emily and Stephanie to go on the run. Feig added that this version of the story was more of a caper, in the vein of a darkly comedic road movie, with Emily and Stephanie going undercover, but they ultimately decided to make a more contained sequel with a bigger body count. Considering some of the utterly bonkers twists in the final film, Dante faking his own death to set Emily up would have fit in just fine.